Hi, in this video, we are going to see how to create thread. So we will see how to implement runnable interface to create a thread. Okay, so we will write a class. Let me name this class as child. Okay, so child class child, and this class implements runnable interface. And this runnable interface has one method. There is one method called public void run, and we have to implement this method. So before that, you have to write a constructor for this class. You will also declare a variable of type thread, thread t, and let us create a constructor. Let us write a constructor public or even child. So it is a constructor, and this constructor takes two parameters. One is this, okay, comma, some name. What for this? To make this class, we will have this constructor as a default constructor, and we have to create a thread object. Okay, so we create a thread object, thread, and we will pass the reference we will pass, and we'll also give some name to the thread. Okay, so we give the name as demo thread. Okay, so we create a thread here and we assign that object of thread to the variable t is of type thread. So we have completed this one. So what we have done so far is we have simply declared a default constructor for this class. Inside the constructor, we created a thread object of thread, and we pass this. We assign that object reference to the variable t. Okay. So inside the run method, we have to write the code which we want to run as a thread. Okay. So when we run thread, right? This piece of code which runs as part of the thread. So that code we have to write it inside this run method. So here we are using for loop. So here we have written a for loop and we iterate that for loop 5 times, and each time we print the text child thread and also along with that counter value, and we make the thread to sleep for 500 milliseconds. This is because we want to run two threads concurrently. One is this child thread, another is the main thread, that is the thread 1 class. Okay, so we want to run it concurrently, so we will make these thread to sleep for some time, so that when one thread sleeps, other thread take over. So we make the thread sleep for 500 milliseconds for each iteration. Okay. So next thing is we have done this part. Now we go to the main class, main method. That is thread one is the main class, and we have the main method inside it. And inside this main class, what we have to do is we have to create the object of child. So child class object we have to create it inside this main method. So child c equal to new child, right? And we have to now we have created a child object. Now what we do is we have to start the thread of the child thread. We have to start. So how to start it? C dot, have a thread object t, right? We have a thread object also, and we call the start method of using that. Okay, so t dot, we have to call the start method. So start method we have, so it has a start method, right? So we have to call that method. So this will make the thread to start, the child thread to start. So when the child thread to start, the whatever code we have written inside the run method will get executed. Now what we do is we can also make the main thread to run for some code we have to write it inside the main thread. That code will get executed. So here we have the again another for loop, and inside the for loop we print the text. This time we print main thread, and we will make this thread to sleep for 1000 milliseconds. Why we make this thread to sleep for 1000 milliseconds? Because we want the child thread to complete first. So we make this thread to sleep for 1000 milliseconds and child thread to sleep for 500 milliseconds every iteration. So the child thread finish first and then the main thread will finish. Okay. So that is the idea behind it. So now we are done with that part. Since this sleep method throws exception, so that is why we are interrupted exception it throws. So we use the catch block, try and catch block. Okay, so we are done with everything. So let us run this code. Okay, so here what we have to do is we have to make it. This is saying that the type child is already defined. Okay, so we will make it as child one, right? Child one already defined. So one is already defined. Let us child 2. Okay. Now we made it as child 2, right? Because there is one more class with the name child 1 or child 2 in the same project. That's why it is saying error. So we convert it to, we change the name to child 2. So it is fine. So we are done with that part. Now let us run this code and see. Before running this code, we would like to we'll again go through the code quickly. So what we have done here is we have written a child to class which implements runnable interface, and runnable interface has a method run method. We implement that runnable interface run method using a for loop, and we print the text child thread, and we make the thread to sleep for 500 milliseconds every time. And in the main class, we have inside the main method, we have created the child thread object, child class object, and we call the start method to start the child thread. And in the main method, we have also again we have a for loop, and we print main thread for every time for 5 times. So we make the main thread to sleep for 1000 milliseconds every iteration. So this will ensure that the child thread finish first and then the main thread. So this program demonstrate how to execute two threads concurrently. Okay, so now let us run this code and see the output. So see the output now, main thread 0, child thread 0, child thread 1. So it is executing, it is printing the main thread as well as child. So main and child executes concurrently, right? Then finally child thread exiting, then finally the main thread exiting. Okay,